It's Friday afternoon. The boys are here. We have gin and tonic in our glasses. No, we don't, but we can cheers anyway, right? Cheers, Alex. Cheers, Igor.
Yes, we do.
Good to see you guys here. Good to see you guys here.
Nice to see you again.
Sneak one in.
Sneak one in. Yes, yes. A little one. Yeah. Yeah. It's okay.
Microdosing.
Of course.
Just one drop.
Yes, exactly.
One drop is okay.
And that's exactly what we need for the topic of the last topic of the power today, which is the purpose of the iGaming industry from first principle thinking. So yes, to have a little bit of a drink before is good for this very philosophical high topic. Guys, I've known you guys for a long time. Alex, we've got to know each other better recently, of course, but Igor, we've known each other for a long time, and back in the power hour era, of course, and I was super excited to gather you guys here today because both of you guys are two of the greatest thinkers of the iGaming industry, if there is such a thing. And it excites me because I think that these type of discussions is what's needed in the industry. But for those of you perhaps who don't know you that well as I do, let's start by just some short introductions here. Igor, why don't you go ahead?
Do I need to talk about myself now? Right. I've run casinos for a while. I ran an operation, built a few platforms, player management platforms over time, which makes you understand the flow of gaming is from a player perspective. We're on an education business now, where we teach various senior managers about how to improve their business. Been around for about 15 years in the industry now. But as long as Alex.
Yeah, and actually you reunited us today because Igor and myself, we were old friends and we didn't see each other for maybe 2 years.
Yeah, good 2 years, man.
2 years, 3 years. And actually it was like 5 years ago you came to Barcelona and we had one of these training of yours, and if I remember, it was like 2 times 1 week, 2 times 5 days.
Yeah.
With 1 month's interval in between.
7 years ago that was, mate.
7 years.
7 years.
Time flies. That I remember the day when you told me, Alex, when I walk, I count my steps. I said, fuck these guys, a creep. I count my steps when I walk.
I said,
okay, shit. Wow. And actually, we talked about that yesterday during our podcast. Yeah, is that I've never learned so much than during this 10 days training. I'm not here to sell Igor's training or whatever, but the amount of knowledge we got that. And we're talking yesterday about exit coefficient and things like that.
Thank you.
Really incredible. I think we need actually another round after all these years.
We'll go for some gin and tonics.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are things open yet? No, we're still on lockdown.
No.
Still in lockdown.
I got
We'll figure something out.
I got some stash in my hotel room.
Fair enough.
We'll have a drink after this, that's for sure.
Yeah, man.
We'll have a coffee.
Exactly, and maybe we'll put on the recorder as well. Let's see.
Yeah, those are necessary during those chats. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys. And like you mentioned, Alex, here yesterday we recorded a podcast here in this very studio together, which was just fantastic. And I urge everyone to check it out as well. And the first 10 minutes is dedicated to you, Igor, actually. And you haven't seen it yet. But you will see it.
I think it was a little bit more than 10 minutes.
Yeah, could have been. But jumping into the topic of today, we're talking today about the purpose of the iGaming industry. It's a deep question. And I would love to hear you guys just kind of battle this out in general, what you guys feel here. Like, first of all, does the iGaming industry need a purpose, Alex?
I think we all need a purpose. You don't want to be the guy that is selling guns, for example. You want to feel that you create value to society, at least at some point, maybe not in your 20s, you just want to eat the world and make some cash, but at some point when you get older, you need to feel a kind of sense of meaning in what you do. And then when you talk with people in the iGaming industry, we always have the same kind of conversation. However, most of the people feel very uncomfortable to open that Pandora box because they feel actually that there is no purpose. That what we're doing basically is something bad, or we don't care. We're just getting money from players, and some of them have addiction. I do believe there is a purpose, and we discussed that extensively during our podcast yesterday. I can come back on that, but to be honest, I'd like to hear Igor's view, because we may not have enough time, and my point has been already made yesterday, and I can pinpoint 2 or 3 things, but I'd like to hear Igor about that.
You're asking me about the purpose of, whether gambling has a purpose, and the first thing that popped into my head is the first dice was rolled around 5,000 years ago. Do you know that?
Yeah, right after the Anunnaki landed on our planet. Right?
That was true.
I think they brought the dice. They brought the dice.
So my question would be like, what was the purpose of that dice? Yeah, 5,000 years ago, they found, I don't know, about 3,000 BC, right? 5 millennia ago, there's a dice. What was the purpose of that dice, right? And it gets me to thinking of everything we have today, all the complexities of the games, all the, throughout the ages, you can see how the games got more and more complex, especially now we're in information age. So now we need that tingle, right? We need, the jazz hands. But ultimately, I think we still serve the same purpose we served millennia ago, hundreds of years ago, which is to feel like life has shined itself on us as we play. So when a player plays, whether it be a lottery, what's the purpose of a lottery? We're selling dreams, right? And I don't want to make it, corny or cheesy. So we're selling dreams. It's. I think we need that hope in life. There's many reasons why. I mean, funny enough, you mentioned agnostic approach, and I say we kind of sell the same thing. I don't mean to say we're the same as religion, but religion says hope, And ultimately, every time you spin, every time you take that chance, you're hoping for an outcome that will prove that Lady Luck has shined its light on you at that moment in time. And I think there is a common denominator through lotteries, which I think I caught onto a statistic lately. I think it's 2019. 183 million people played the lottery in 2019 in America. Do you know how many people live in America? 300 million. That includes children. That's every other man, woman, and child has played a game of chance. So I think that's where your purpose lies. Now, how we go about it, and there's much to say about what we do and the entertainment factor of it all. But I genuinely think we provide hope. Besides the thrills and all that, I think that's the core. That's the first dice, And that would be my my 2 pence.
Yeah. It's anything to fill in here, Alex?
There's many ways to analyze and break down this cognitive object that gambling is. You can go through a psychological way, whether it's Freudian or Jungian, and go into archetypes and things like that. You can have a spiritual approach. And if you go more like down to earth, you can have a sociological approach. And back in time, we used to die quite a lot. We were dying from anything. I mean, we wouldn't live long. You were old in your 30s, and there were many ways to die. Nature was very inventive there. And today we don't die anymore like that. I mean, we do die, but if you look at yourself, you probably know, like maybe 5, depends how old you are. The older you get, the more people died around you. Between 5 and 10 people that have died that you know. Okay, it's a very small amount compared to our ancestors. Yeah. So we were challenged everywhere with death. And we're not anymore. And it may sound counterintuitive, but it can create stress. It can create something that has been here for millions of years, that helped us become who we are, and that disappeared. And we need it. And you would see in a movie like people, they were playing Russian roulette. And that's the
ultimate form of gambling, right?
Ultimate form of gambling.
Ultimate form of gambling.
And
I agree.
then what you do, you just replace death with a proxy, and that proxy is money.
I think you tapped into a vertical, which is the thrill, right? So that's the thrill.
Mm-hmm.
That's the adrenaline rush.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your big bet. That's why games with volatility sell to certain type of players,
mm-hmm.
right? And
it can lead to a social death if you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what's addictive about it.
In Monaco, in the 60s, 70s, there was these paintings, advertisements, and you will see a beautiful Monaco in the background, Casino of Monaco, Monte Carlo, and you will see guys that hanged themselves. And yeah, no, but that was not a beautiful art. I mean, it was against gambling, and basically the point is that Monaco was the city of death. And gambling was leading to death, and there was this story of this big tycoons or big industries, and they come and they gamble, and for them it's nothing. Let's say that they will lose 500 euros of today, and it's not a lot of money, and they can pay 500 euros per spin on a roulette spin, and it's okay. And but you have to see what this 500 represent for them. So let's say that they would make 10,000. 500, it's 1/20th of your monthly salary. It's acceptable. And then let's say that you have a worth.
Yeah, but not per spin, is it?
No, but we can change a little bit the numbers.
Okay, I get you.
And then you get to your wealth, and let's say your wealth is 5 or 10 million. Okay, and let's say that 500 starts being interesting, but it doesn't kill you, and you start losing, and you start winning. And when you win on a roulette, you would win 36 times 500. Okay, it starts becoming interesting for you. It's more than your monthly salary. And if you look after years and years and years, you see what you've lost, and you have it in your subconscious mind. You've lost a lot. You've lost maybe 20-30% of your wealth. Then you're gonna chase your win. Then 500 is gonna become 1,000, and then slowly there is like an intoxication process, like any drug, where you ramp up more and more. And when you get more intoxicated, and when you need more to get intoxicated, and that's where at the end you will put that night the house on the table.
Yeah.
And you will lose and that's where you lead to, I lost my business. And it happened in Monte Carlo. I lost my business, and that night you're nobody.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done. You're dead.
Right, I want to tell you a story.
I think we had this conversation actually back
we
in
did.
time.
Do you remember, I had mentioned Lucian back then? Do you remember that? No?
Who, sorry?
So there's a guy, Lucian Wiseman. He's a Dutch, he actually does a lot of consultancies for land-based casinos. So he helps them rearrange where to put small bet slots and so on. I mean, fantastic. He does some courses as well and so on. Fantastic education. I had crossed paths with him years ago because I wanted to find out about player behavior. I was building a platform, or I can't remember. We were running an online operation, and I wanted to get into players' minds. And I said, okay, I want to go back into land. I want land-based. I want to understand, right? So I came across this course, and I'm sitting at this guy's course. He's talking about player mechanics. A lot of my stuff came from him, actually. Not the exit coefficients and the mathematics, but the player behavior understanding. You know, the time on device players and whatnot. And he had, as part of the, I think, introduction, if I remember right, said his story, how he got into it. So he started consulting casinos as a player. So he was a player, a losing player, for decades, until he understood the industry from the inside out so well that he started understanding what was wrong with the room. And I don't know where or how the bridge happened, but he becomes a consultant. And now, as he's speaking to these CEOs and owners of multi-million-dollar businesses, there was a story, and if he ever does watch this, I'm sorry, mate, if I paraphrase this wrongly. Yeah, it's from a decade-old memory, but I think he was at an airport of some sort, and in his understanding of the games, he knew that bigger the bet, the more volatile the machine. Right, that's how it's supposed to work. So he was, I think, waiting for an airplane in the lobby. There was some sort of delay or whichever, and he found a room with a bunch of machines, and he went in, and he found the machine with the biggest bet. He said, "This must be the volatile machine. I like volatile games." He started playing, and as he started playing, 3 spins in, he wins. He wins quite a bit. So increases the bet. Play, win again. And as he's talking about the story, I'm saying, great. I mean, it's a story about winning. What? It's a story about becoming an addict because of that first big win. And he's like, I was so frustrated. I just kept on winning money. I mean, where's the... it's just money, right? He was getting really flustered. It's like at one point in time, I increased the bet and I started losing, and I lose. And all of a sudden, I'm 10,000 down. And now I'm realizing I wasn't supposed to be 10,000 down. I carried myself. So I'm all of a sudden 15,000 down. I'm thinking, should I deposit? And I'm in a really drastic thing. I max out the bet and I'm just hoping for that win. And as you're seeing this man's energy. Now he's a late 50s, early 60s kind of guy, I think. Probably not 60s, I think he'll murder me if he sees this. Probably mid-50s, right? This guy's energy, as he was speaking, starts changing into pure excitement as he was talking about losing. Because what was coming was the crescendo, which was that one big bet that pulled him from minus 10,000, right, and he jumps there, it's like right up to break even. Right up to break even, right? And then I went, and then I left. I was happy, right? And I think that's where I wanted to tap into these extremely wealthy businessmen, where it may be interesting for that roulette win to come in 36 times and whatnot, but I think at some point in time, that's where, I don't even want to talk about the addictive side of it, but it's part and parcel of the package. That's where the thrill and the excitement comes in, where you're putting it on the line. That's when you're walking the fine line, right? That's where the stigma came from as well. Because it's very easy for the house to capitalize on that and just tilt the scales a little bit outside. That's the old Las Vegas. Yeah. That's the money laundering, bootlegging Las Vegas, the Route 66, Nevada to LA, Nevada to New York, And that's where I think the thrill it's a two-sided blade, yeah? There's the chance for a win, especially on the lower end of the spectrum, less wealthy, the chance of a life-changing event, even, right? Yeah. And I think on a higher end, more wealthy spectrum, it's more about the risk, It's more about that 1 million euro bet or dollar bet, or that one moment when things might matter. Because wealthier you get, more I think harder it is to feel that the zest for life,
It would be like a spicy meal. Some people they can take a lot of spice, and some people they can't take spice. And the guy that can't take spice, if you give him a spicy plate, he's going to freak out. And the guy that takes spice can't take spice. If you feed him a mind plate, he's going to say, "What the fuck is that?" Exactly the same thing. This volatility aspect, but. What you pinpoint here, and I remember we discussed that years ago, is that the sensation of being alive doesn't come from the win. It comes from the loss.
Well done.
So how it works, I had that feeling talking with a lot of players. I was doing customer support on my own operations because I wanted to feel the players. And it's about, you could take a roller coaster. So the roller coaster, you have this thing that is period at the beginning when you go up and you go on the top. And just then you have the game, and that's where you enjoy.
It takes you.
The win is the boring thing. The win is the thing that allows you
to keep chasing,
to play. And if we want to go in another registre, we say in French, you can talk about sadomasochism, about the breathing technique.
Are we
So-
still on the first principles
Yeah,
of
we're still
gambling?
talking about gambling.
Are we still talking about the first principle? Good.
So the breathing game works the following. You have someone that can't breathe and the other one controls the breathing, okay? And you take a lot of air and then you restrain to breathe. And then at the moment you feel you're gonna pass out, you can take air again, okay? It's the same thing like choking and all this practice. The pleasure doesn't come from inhaling air. Inhaling air just allows you to stay alive.
It's from
Okay, the pleasure comes from this long period, and it's the long losing period. The win is just quick, you know, that of not being able to breathe and losing consciousness, and then you breathe again, and that's the win. The win is just this thing that makes you keep alive,
back to normal.
and then you have this long period of losing, where basically what you want to test is how far you can go. To quote Alan Watts, how far can you take it? Exactly. That's that. So you like spicy, you can go through a very deep and long walk through the valley of death. And if you're a rookie, low volatility player, you need your hit ratio of like 30%. That each 3 or 4 spins, you've got a win or half win or whatever it is, just to make you like.
Yeah, but that's where that last sentence is where our demographic isn't uniform, right? You know what I mean? Because that chase, the long spiral of death for the win to peak out, that's for a specific demographic of certain type of player. Then you have the dream chasers, you know, and you have
they're quite similar, let's say.
Yeah, I mean,
they're on the high volatility spectrum.
Yeah, but the dream chasers, I mean, they're there hoping for a life-altering thing, and I think they actually don't know what they're getting into. That's sort of that virgin experience of gambling, where you know, like you know what I mean?
The 𝗔𝗹𝗲 is darker. You know,
I mean,
in all ways.
Right?
The jester? Are we talking about the jester now? Anyway,
No, we're not
archetypes. We're into the Jungian archetypes. But I mean, I think a distinction here as well is when we talk about different type of gamblers, it's also related to what products they prefer, right? So when we talk about the purpose in gambling, maybe it should be broken up to products instead. What is the purpose of poker? What is the purpose of casino? What is the purpose of sportsbook? Because you have different demographics that are drawn to the different products in a sense as well.
Yeah, do you want to take this on? Or?
No, go on.
Mate, I think that the products are just many faces of the same thing, in my personal opinion. I think that we feed base 3 types of players, which are your dream chasers and your thrill chasers. You can categorize them the same or not.
Yeah, because you can say that the dream chasers are more likely to play high volatile games, but particularly playing lotto, for example.
Yeah, lotto, jackpots, and so on.
Yeah, low risk, but they have the dream in their mind to this is their
low bet,
chance.
high potential win.
This is their chance of making it, so to say. But in, let's say, sports betting, for example.
No, switch to poker, right?
Yeah.
Sit and go versus heads up. How is that any different? How is a sit and go, which is your low bet player, low volatility, time on device player, any different to a high stakes, no limit heads up poker, which is your high bet, high risk, high reward? You get me?
Exactly.
Right?
So you'll probably find like micro segments within those products too, if you want to use edge cases. But if you look at poker as a whole, you could easily make the argument, if we talk about the purpose here and what we want as a purpose, you could easily make the argument that the purpose of poker is for people to socialize. for example. So you can play a poker game, and in a way you are exposing yourself as you play poker, because when you sit in a tournament, for example, the pulse goes up. You remember that's on the in the tournaments. You have the pulse watches. You see the pulse goes up of the players. You have that excitement because you know that so much is on the line, but you are sharing that excitement with the other people around you, and you are using your intellect and your cleverness to take decisions that will take you to either a win or a loss. And sometimes, we talked about this yesterday in the podcast as well, what's interesting with poker is that, especially in a poker tournament, you might find yourself in situations where you know what is the right move to make in this particular situation, and still you choose not to do it due to your risk aversion, and that is exposing yourself as your personality. That's the thing, mate.
I think that's the source. That's the purpose.
That's the thrill. Yes.
There we go. Because socializing can come from many facets. I mean, to socialize, you don't necessarily. You're still playing a product that feeds a secondary purpose, which happens to also have an element of skill. And people that will prefer poker over casino prefer control over non-control, a sense of feeling like there's a skill element to it. You look at sports players, the RNG is external completely. It's dependent on a third-party event in real life, in real world, that has nothing to. You're not playing against the house. You're playing against the team. For your own team. Each product has its own packaging, I believe, right? But ultimately serves either the thrill or the dream, right? Because even in sports, I can still split it in sports. You have those guys that put a €5 bet on like 30 different outcomes, which produce like €150,000 ticket, versus the guys that play constantly and adjust their bets and whatnot, right? That sort of demographic of I want the risk and the thrill versus I want the hope and the dreams is woven through every single product vertical that we have within our gaming spectrum. And I think that's the common denominator. The rest is profile packaging. It suits a certain profile of a person. So that's my take. I personally think we are hope peddlers. We're hope and thrill peddlers. That's what we are.
But you can. I would also add to this. So I think we have identified, and it's super interesting to hear the thoughts on this, that the thrill of gambling comes from basically facing your own mortality in a way, you could say. And in what we're saying is that in the history of human beings, we've always been faced with very challenging and difficult situations on a day-to-day basis. How are we going to find food for today? Otherwise, we're not going to make it to the next day, type of thing. And we have lost that in today's society. So therefore, we replace it with this type of thrill-seeking when we get in touch with our own mortality and so on and so forth. But if we so that is the essence of the thrill that we are talking about here. I would still make the argument that it's different when you gamble by yourself, because then that feeling is the pure feeling. That is the only reason why you play.
Historically, gambling was still a solo event, even in casinos, even in social environments. It was very you versus the world, right? So still very individual sport.
If you see it, the slots player that like isolate completely. But even some poker players, I mean, they put the hoodie, everything. They completely like in a virtual reality setup. When you talk about mortality, there's these two aspects. Sorry, you have the mortality facing your mortality aspect, and the other one that I would identify is facing your identity. And that's more for a non-skill game, a pure chance game, where the player doesn't even want to know it works. He doesn't care. He deserves to win. And he deserves to get this big win. And because he's some kind of son of God or whatever, and the universe is going to recognize who he is. And I'm not I mean, when I say that, I have a little smirky smile on my face, but I'm not making fun of that. It's I deserve to be recognized by the universe, and there is a mystic behind it, and you can clearly see it. I mean, providers, they know it. The team that's the most sold is the Egyptian team, and there's all these mystic symbols. The near win thing, which is like, oh, it was there, it's gonna come, it's a sign the next time I'm gonna win, and all this symbolic behind, all this mysticism is very mystic. A real player is very mystic.
Yeah, you don't think that's the drive, the craving, the lady luck, the life. The energy of life will shine on me today.
Exactly.
It's my turn.
It's the man, you know, like the manna, like Jesus in the desert, and the light hits him, and then he transforms from Jesus to Christ.
That's exactly this is where I say, man, I say hope peddlers. You know what's a fun fact? Time of high crisis, 3 industries that blow up, right? Guns, sex, these are primal industries, and gambling. Guns, obviously, you know, economic crisis, defense, and so on. People are heightened. But sex and gambling, right? And so we fall within, you know, it's a pity that the stigmatic of gambling puts us in a position where we're like selling nothing or appealing to no real purpose. I think that the reality couldn't be further from the truth.
It's completely true, but it would be like gambling is something I believe is beautiful. It would be the industry that exploits its target, because it would misuse it, and it will take something that's sacred and trust. Use the human being and take him through a weak point. The same way that like pornography would do, and take something that's sacred like love and sex, and use it to kind of hijack you, you know, and we would be considered like some kind of hijackers that are some kind of parasites on the destiny of people.
Yeah, that's really good though. No, that's really good, because you have a vertical, you do have an element of our industry that will do exactly that.
Yeah, obviously.
You know, and throughout history more so. I think it's getting.
I can give some names if you want.
Go ahead.
I think I already lost a lot of friends yesterday during our podcast. I think I'm good now.
All right, fine.
I need new friends.
But here's a question that I have for you guys. So if we look at the stigmatization of the iGaming industry, clearly there is stigma to be attributed to our industry from the wider populace. However, if we look at the Las Vegas as a phenomena, and we compare the thrill of kind of going to Las Vegas and what it means and what it stands for to the iGaming industry, you don't really have that many voices that are crying out for a ban on gambling in Nevada, for example, or that Las Vegas should not be allowed. I think most people agree that this is kind of like this is something that should be there.
Bad boy.
And there's this romanticization about Las Vegas. You go there and you come back, either you win, you lose, and it's accepted in a way. Why is it that Las Vegas is accepted and all that comes with it, and you know, the extremes that comes with that place, whereas the iGaming industry is just accumulating stigmatization?
Just for me, one sentence: U.S., UK. That's it. As simple as that.
You think so?
Yeah, of course. Come on.
But do you think that Las Vegas is stigmatized by the Europeans?
No. But also because, okay, it has all this imagery that has been. First of all, it's a crazy. It's a crazy place. Yep. And then I was going to say Hollywood, all the movies.
Man, gangsters were romanticized, right?
How could you possibly try to put down Las Vegas, because everything bad has been already said about the place. It's not like someone would come and say, "Oh, Las Vegas is bad." Of course, we know, like crack cocaine, and I still take it because I love it. Okay. The conversation can go nowhere. We know it's bad. We know bad, but it's beautiful.
I mean, Las Vegas of today has nothing to do with Las Vegas of the old days, right? Of the old god that owned Las Vegas, and that's the part that was romanticized. But that's also the part that bastardized gambling. Right? That's the part that hijacked gambling.
What do you mean when you say the old gods?
The old guards, not gods. The old guard,
Guards.
the OG, the original, the old guard of Vegas. Yeah? You know, I forgot the names of the boys that Frank Sinatra used to rub shoulders with.
Yeah,
so,
the
right?
Rat Pack and
you know.
Bugsy.
Exactly. And that's the part of the gaming that, weirdly enough, regulators of today still use almost like a passive scare tactic to justify AML. And I mean, AML should be there and whatnot, but like ridiculous processes.
Yeah, it's a scarecrow.
Yeah, it's a scarecrow. It is, because back then, and we are talking back then, it was a place where you launder the money from illicit alcohol sales and bootlegging, right? It was a money laundering establishment for the organized crime. But let's face it, man, at that time, a whole country was just forming, right? It was still practically Wild West. And in that kind of, you know, you had those, even in Texas, you had those old river boats that would have poker tables and stuff on them, and the house would be, you know, it wouldn't be 5% edge on blackjack. You know what I mean? So yeah, you have, like everything else, over time, it reached a point where people learned, some smarter people learned they can capitalize on it. Morals were questionable.
But
right?
Igor, it's worse today. If you walk in a betting shop in I won't name it, but in UK, or you just go outside of a betting shop and you just look at the population that's there, it's 10 times more frightening and disgusting than Las Vegas. It's really sad. It's deeply sad.
Yeah, you know what? I feel you here simply because of the accessibility to a wider demographic. So what
and targeting a very poor demographic. And
this is what I mean.
And
you go to Las Vegas. In this case, Las Vegas is in your around your block. Yeah.
Yes. And what about internet gambling? And what about mobile gambling? I'm like right in your heart now. I'm even closer to you.
Yeah. Oh, that one we can talk half an hour about. Like, or hours about. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, well, it's been a fantastic conversation here. We are running over time. I must say this is the easiest conversation in history to moderate, by the way. You know what? I do have one last question for you guys, though. If we can take it in a couple of minutes. Talking about, you know, the stigmatization, and we had identified what is, you know, what really is the core of gambling, the deep, what drive that takes us to place a bet on an uncertain event and feeling that thrill. You know, recently among some of the tier 1 operators, who are particularly those who are listed on the stock exchange, are starting to take the stance that some of them want to eliminate harmful gambling in its entirety. So, by going down that path, do you remove that deep core of what gambling is?
I define harmful gambling. No, please continue.
Very quickly, it's the same like free alcohol beer and coffee without caffeine. And I've given that example already before. I'm going to give you again. Someone would come to me and say, look, I want to try a psychedelic experience, transformative experience, but I want it to be comfortable. It's not going to work. It doesn't work like that. And gambling works because it's not comfortable, because it hurts. Play poker without money. You have it. Poker without money it would be the most boring game. All the thing comes from the burn, from the fact that you play a game, and when you get out of the game, the consequences of what happened during that game follows you in real life. It has to hurt. Now, as any stress is, let's not make it kill you.
Can I ask you something, man? I mean, removing harmful gambling, right? I mean, at what point do we stop or even start removing the responsibility of a human being to act on its own behalf?
No, I agree.
Right?
Don't take me like the other guy.
No, I get it. I'm with you there. It's just
agree with you.
You know, like we're going to put. You know, it's one of those like don't drink bleach type thing. Yeah. You know, like rat poison. Do not ingest. Yeah. You know, it has poison on the.
Yeah.
Can I say fuck? Yes. On the label, right? And we keep babying the society, and we keep putting regulation where now you can't spend more than 1,000.
But there's a reason also, because we do also the other thing. when you have cities in the UK where you have a gambling shop, okay, you have a pharmacy, you have a gambling shop, you have the people that get there in a setup when they're kids, take them 18 years after, okay, they're 18,
they're already formatted.
At 20, they already are addictive gamblers. So if on one side you push them there, you will need to get them out of there. So there is something that the industry is doing that's wrong on one side. So, and you have these two things, and you see it with the regulator in the UK. I mean, I really learned a lot from the conversation I had with the UKGC. They really made me look into what was responsible gaming. But on the other side, when they allow advertisements during soccer games, football games that are watched by kids, and they let the big ones throw their cash there. So on one side, you push to create the problems. It's like you will unleash the dealers in the streets, and then on the other side you will fight the drug dealers, and you spend money here and there, but you take money in the middle. No, come on, we wouldn't need to go that far, and then also put the responsibility on the operators if things were done properly on the other side. So yes, at some point you need to regulate, because on the other side you let.
Yeah, I just think regulation is not done effectively because it's not informed well enough.
It's that fine line with allowing the risk to take place, but not killing people basically, and that's that line is very fine. Basically, it's so hard to find that.
To draw it, you need informative people in decision-making process, and that's generally not what happens with governments.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I knew this was going to be the case. I wish we had more time, but we'll have to absolutely follow this up for sure. So, shall we do a little bottoms up here?
Bottoms up.
Yeah, bottoms up.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers to you both, and thank you everyone who listened in and who are still here in this very deep conversation. It's been a fantastic end to the Power Hour today, and wish you all a great weekend, and take care of each other.
Ciao, guys.
Okay.
All right. So again, thank you all so much for tuning into the Power Hour today. Before we close off, I just wanted to quickly mention the polls that we've been running today. And there's particularly one poll that I wanted to mention, which is the related to the German regulation discussion that we had earlier, which is basically, what RTP do you expect will be reasonable in the German market based on the new 5.1% tax on turnover? And 31.8% of you guys are saying that the RTP should probably be set at somewhere more than 90%, whereas the rest are voting for less than 90%, somewhere between 80 to 90%. So that's some interesting findings that we have here as well. And last and not least, the last poll as well is based on when do you expect to attend your first in-person conference post the pandemic, which is obviously very interesting to us as conference organizers. And surprisingly, 41% are considering to attend conference by Q3 in 2021 again. So that's promising. All right, so that's it for today's Power Hour. And again, wish you all a great weekend. Take care of each other and stay safe. Thank you.